So welcome to the Naked Peaches. I'm Anna.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Mary.
We have a special guest today, ladies. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I just met Mary for the first time last night, and we stayed up all night talking. So hopefully we didn't run out of things to talk about on the pod. But I feel like you guys should talk a little bit about how you met at Portrait Masters.
Oh, yes. For
so
sure.
we met in August at Portrait Masters, which was a photography conference that we had talked about a couple months ago on the pod. Was it at breakfast or?
Yeah, we were in passing. Yeah, we were in passing. Like I was going to Starbucks, and I think right, or something like that, because it was the day. It wasn't the first day. It was like the second day. Yeah, because I was finally able to attend the conference.
Yeah, and why was it that the first day you weren't able to attend?
Well, because the first night that I was there, I decided to have a couple of drinks, and I don't get out much. And so the whole next day I was hungover, and it took me 4 hours to eat a hamburger because I couldn't. I couldn't sit up in bed. So I think we were just like passing each other, and I had followed you guys. I don't know how it all happened, but I think I followed you guys at some point. I don't even remember how it was, but I did. So I followed you guys, and then I saw you guys, and that's when I think we stopped and like started chatting.
Yeah. And I think we talked for like 20-30 minutes or something, and it was immediately, I'm like, are we best friends? Like, where have you been my whole life? It was the most like natural conversation ever.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we just kept running into each other the entire time we were there and kept hanging out and having meals together.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And then you did a really cool shoot in the pool that I was very jealous of at night.
Because you guys had left, I think. Or maybe you didn't.
We went to sleep, or we were...
I don't know.
Somewhere. Because it was really late.
Yes.
That you did it.
Yeah. We had to sneak in.
I love that.
This is the life of a boudoir photographer.
Yes.
Like, no one understands your art.
Yeah, we had to sneak in, and then Nick had to run his big fat mouth and tell everybody because nobody was supposed to know. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there was like a whole posse of photographers. And we got on the golf cart, and there was always supposed to be like an after party up at the like fitness area. Okay. Like kind of where that bar was up there. So like all of the mentors and everybody were there. They were all shit-faced. And so we pull up in the golf cart, and then somebody had mentioned something that we were going to go do a pool shoot, and they like started shaking the cart because they like wanted to come. Oh my God. And Kiara, so she was one of the models. She was like, whispering to the thing. She's like, no, we're not doing anything. We're doing nothing. And she was like, shut up. Do not tell them where we're going. And I was like, okay. And so then we like found Nick, and we're like, and then all of a sudden there was like 2 or 3 other photographers there. And I mean, it worked out okay because I just bought those Stellas. Yes. And I was like, well, I want to use these because they're like waterproof. So I had some.
Wait, I didn't know that the lights were waterproof. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah. So I had somebody holding the light to help me out.
The photos are iconic. They're so good.
Yeah.
We were just talking before because she was showing us a little video of it that she just edited, and they look like those like photos or videos on TikTok of the guys cooking very sexually.
And we learned that we all love those videos.
Yeah. Yes. That's the way to my heart right there.
Slap that chicken breast.
So yeah, that's how we met. And then I think it was because actually I listened to your podcast about how you guys talked about just like shooting your shot, that one. Yeah. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna reach out and be like, hey, I can teach you some things about video, and I really want you guys to shoot me. And can I just come out there?
And we were like, say less.
Yeah. Because we were so excited about your video. So Mary, when she does her photos, we'll talk obviously about your background as a boudoir photographer, but she does like photos and video. And I remember you had showed us a little bit of that at the conference, and we came back like talking to Taylor, and we're like, oh my God, like this is so cool, like being able to offer a little bit of this. And we've had a lot of people that love like just our BTS, which is not that good of like video content at all, just like general behind the scenes videos. And we're like, if we could do this. And so when you said that, like, oh, I'll teach you, we were like, oh my God, this is so, we were so excited.
Yeah. I'm excited. We're going to go learn today. So
yeah, later today, we're going to go learn how to make like cinematic boudoir video. I'm like so excited to be able to like give these to our clients. It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, they're gonna love it.
We're gonna be modeling for each other today, by the way.
But she's like, oh, okay.
I didn't shave very much, so we'll just, that's okay.
We won't do a
close like the ass only or something like that.
Perfect.
You know,
perfect. It's fine. It's gonna be fine.
I didn't shave. I didn't do my princess prep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like kind of shade. It's just not like a good shade, you know? Like when you're in there.
Fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It wasn't as close as it could be.
Yeah.
It was the blind. Just
feel
you can always
blind.
pop in the shower before we leave.
Right.
Yeah. Let me just clean this up quick. Thanks.
Well, I love that you decided to shoot your shot with us. I'm so excited. And also, can I say that the other thing that you told me that we both do? Mary also swallows her gums.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes. I was like, as soon as she said that, I was like, there's other people that do.
This is not okay, both of you. This is not okay.
I mean, I've seen it in my poop a few times.
Okay,
so it does come out.
Really?
It doesn't stay in there for 7 years. They lied to you.
Myth. I would literally have had 10 surgeries by now if that were true.
There's worse things you can swallow.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree. But
sure.
wait, it comes out probably pretty whole, right?
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't
it's like a piece of gum when it comes out. I just imagine it's not really absorbed by your body anyway.
Yeah, your body is just kind of what the...
Yeah, get that out of here.
Exit. Out.
I've never seen it in my poop, but now that you said that, I'm going to start taking a closer look.
Yeah, start inspecting.
Yeah.
I will say it's really hard with a nicotine gum to not swallow, because you do not want to be swallowing that
that'd
shit.
give you a stomach ache. I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Oh, because it would just keep giving you nicotine?
I think so. Well, it's just not meant to be absorbed in your stomach. It's meant to be absorbed through your gums. You chew it, and then I have it just sitting in the side of my mouth right now.
Chew?
Yeah, it's like dip, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah, it's just, I'm chewing. It's natural to
you chew
swallow.
and then you swallow. It's the next step. And I will say there are other people who have said to me, people in our Facebook group, one or two who've been I have swallowed my gum my whole life. I don't know why. It's just a compulsion. So it's that we exist. You know?
We are our own people. Thank you.
I'm really glad that you guys have a community now and have found each other.
We're starting a support group. Gum Swallowers Anonymous.
Okay. I think we should go a little bit into your background just so everyone knows, because obviously we both know, but a little bit more just about you, how you got started with Boudoir, just some of these details that we've already been talking about for the last while.
So I've loved shooting photography my entire life. I actually used to dress my friends up, make them pose with my stuffed animals. I had all
That's so cute.
Yeah, I have these, they're petting my Siberian tiger.
I feel we should do an elevated shoot version of this. I really like this idea.
Well, the funny you should say that, because actually the one thing I was telling Taylor last night was not much has changed between my childhood and now. There was I just did a photo shoot in Savannah. I had my assistant Jackie take some photos of me baking cookies, but I was in a yiddy thong, and I was putting the cookies in the oven, and I was I think I have a photo of me doing this as a toddler. Not in that provocative way, but just no pants.
Yeah.
Putting brownies in the oven, and I literally put them up on my Instagram side by side, and nothing has changed here.
It's your true self, you know?
Yeah, I hated clothes. I just loved to be nude all the time, and it was other people who were uncomfortable with it. I remember the day I took my shirt off at the park, and I must have been budding, and I think one of my family members or cousins was you should probably put a shirt back on. And I was I just looked at him why? I'm hot. I'm sweating. And everybody, these other kids nobody else is wearing clothes. Essentially, why am I singled out? And I later realized it was because, I was making him uncomfortable. Probably, people are going to look. There's, trying to, in the great society that we live in. So anyhow, that's where photography really started to blossom. I loved it. And then in 2012, I asked my husband for a camera, a DSLR, because we had our second kid, or I had my second kid. I actually had my first when I was 19. And then when I met him, we ended up getting pregnant 6 months after we knew each other.
Oh my gosh.
That's scary.
Yes, very scary, especially because I wasn't really raised in religion or anything like that, and his family was Christian, and I was oh shit, I'm about to just
Did you guys have like a shotgun wedding, like to appease
No. I was the one who was like, we need to get married.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, wow.
Like, we've got to make this right.
Yeah.
Because I'm freaking out. And he was like, I do not want to just marry you because you're pregnant. And I'm like, fine. So I waited and waited, and I'm such a like compulsive person that I was like, I'm like, are you sure you don't want to do it? Like, you could do it at the baby shower. Like I had made up all of these fantasies about.
I planned the proposal, and then I give you the script.
Well, and his grandma, who's now passed away, totally ruined it all because she has Alzheimer's, or she had Alzheimer's.
Oh, no.
And so this was like 3 months, or it was Christmas time. So it was like about a month after our daughter was born. And he was going to ask me. He had bought the ring, and I knew he bought the ring because I tried it on just to make sure it fit. I was like, perfect. And I put it back.
Wait, because you found it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He doesn't know that. I'm going to send him this podcast.
Please.
And I found it in the basement, and I was like, okay, that's good. And I put it back, and I was like, oh, it's so pretty. You did a good job. It looks like a flower. And then I put it back, and then we left, and I knew he didn't grab it. I was like, are you forgetting anything?
I'm obsessed with this.
This is incredible.
And he's like, nope. And I'm like, this is not going to go the way I want it. And so then we get up there, and I think he actually, like, because I don't know, like, I had like a spidey senses that it was going to be happening. So that's why I asked.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we get up there, and I think that's when I like walked by, and I saw in the bedroom, him and his grandma were sitting on the bed, like digging through her jewelry box. And so I was like, well, I'm like, okay, what the heck? And so then I go in there, and I sit next to her after he leaves. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And she's like, oh, we're just looking through my jewelry. And I was like, oh. And she was like, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she's like, we were looking for a ring because Andrew is going to propose to you. And I was like, shut up. And then I felt really bad. And so I went to him, like, your grandma told me. And I kind of just said that to be like, cover my own tracks.
Yeah,
like,
you're off the hook now.
I don't have to ever tell him that I knew. And I like, pinned it all on his grandma. And he was so pissed. He was like, God damn it, grandma. Just like.
Was he going to do it that day?
He was going to, sometime. He was like going to take me for a walk and like propose and like all this other stuff.
Wait, so what was this other ring? If he was looking for a ring there?
He was going to borrow one of her rings to propose to me with and then give me my ring when we got home.
Oh,
so he was like kind of like saving the, you know, and so I feel so bad. And then I think like every other time, like he had planned like a dinner. So I kind of knew it was coming and he was trying to surprise me. But every time like something was like blocking. So eventually like 2 or 3 days after my birthday, I like woke up and he's like, look under the bed. And I was like, why? And he's like, just look under the bed. And so I was like, okay. So I looked under the bed and there was my box. He's like, wait, marry me. I was like, okay. So I think he just kind of like quit. I'm done. Like we both know that this is what we're gonna do. So we actually eloped in Panama City Beach. So we got married in Florida in February.
Perfect.
So anyways, I don't know where we got from that, but that's where my camera came from.
Your camera, yeah.
That's so it was like an anniversary, birthday, like Christmas gift. And I just started shooting anything and everything. And that was in 2012. Mm-hmm. And then Boudoir, my first actual Boudoir session that I did, the funny thing is I shot Boudoir for my cousin when I was like a teenager. I think I was like 15. And she was a little older than me. She got married. And she's like, will you use this Polaroid and like take some sexy photos for me for my like soon to be husband? And I was like, sure. So I was like shooting. I forgot about that. I think it was until you guys talked about it. It's like, oh yeah, I've actually been shooting Boudoir a really long time.
That's so fun.
So I took some like sexy photos for her and her lingerie, and it was terrible, but
but I'm sure he loved it, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, it got the job done. So I did some sexy photos for her, and then it was my sister-in-law where that happened again in like 2015, where I was shooting her wedding actually for her, and she asked if I would shoot some like Polaroids of her to give to him like right before he walked down the aisle kind of thing, and like, you know, got him all excited. So that was like my first introduction to it. And then in 2018 was when I officially started to like offer some boudoir sessions.
Yeah.
But because of where I live, it's something that I was really struggling with on trying to promote, because where I live is very, very conservative. So I had to like do things like on the DL. I had to like not really talk, like I had to create, it was kind of like this secret underground thing that I was doing.
Like, was it like a secret like Facebook group, or what did you do to, yeah. Okay.
I had to create like a little, like a kind of like a secret society in a sense to be able to do this and like promote it and talk about it, and kind of would mask it with other things. Like, so I would do like a regular session, but then we would do like a little set for them. Like I had a lawyer one time come in and we did headshots, and then she was like, can I do some? And I'm like, yes, we can. And so
it's like a secret. I love that.
Yeah, it was like this little secret, you know, that we had. And I just really struggled for quite some time because I was doing it, but I just felt that where I was living in like the market, I couldn't really put out the work that I wanted to, because I had already started my business. I had so many families, and it was just, you know, all of that. And I just was trying to like, in my own mind, had to work around like, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. And I had to work through all of that myself. And it didn't like help that, you know, because I identify as Christian too. So I was working through my own stuff of like, this isn't what that is. And I was trying to figure out a way to be able to like make this happen, because it was really challenging. I remember my church actually hired me to come in, because I do videography too, right? So they hired me to come do some promo stuff for them. And I'll never forget the day that the pastor called me, and he was like, tell me, okay, we love what you're doing, etc., like for the video for them and stuff. He's like, I'm just curious, what is boudoir?
Oh my God.
You're like, I don't know.
No, I was like, these are like intimate portraits that women take, or that I take of women. And he's like, so who are these women? And I'm like, the wives in the congregation. Because a lot of my a lot of these women, you know, were coming to me in private, and a lot of them had, you know, a lot of issues like that they were trying to work through, and they wanted to do something fun and exciting for themselves. And it was kind of, again, this like underground, like, you have no idea about the people in your church, like, you know, and it's so sad.
It sounds like a Netflix episode, by the way. Like, this is the beginning of this.
Yes. And so he was just like, so, okay, so he's like, I understand. He's like, but the thing is we can't put your name on anything that you do. And I was like, oh. And he's like, because what we don't want to have happen is some of the men like might recognize your name and go to like your website and then get led down this path. And I and I was like,
I am like, the rage in me is like bubbling up right now.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying, if that's what they're struggling with, they probably shouldn't be on the internet.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think they can find it whether they know my name or not.
Yeah.
They can find titillating photos of women.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Pornhub is a website. Like I'm sorry.
That's what the internet, I feel like that's probably why the person who started the internet started it.
I'm like, have you been on there lately?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know like what to tell you, but I was like, well, you're paying me, so I don't really care. And this isn't something that, you know, I wasn't very passionate about. It was just doing shit to pay the bills. So I was like, fine.
So at this point, like, since you were still kind of doing it in private, you basically had to get these people like through word of mouth, right? Because you couldn't really show any of your true like work online. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to kind of keep doing these other genres in order to kind of like meet my bills, like to be able to have it. So my focus has always been on moms, and just because they're kind of the forgotten, like after you give birth to your baby, you're just kind of like, like you're unimportant. Yes. And it's just like everything, you go on the back burner. And I knew that from obviously personal experience. And so that was where I was starting to, they would come in for a family session and I would talk to them about doing boudoir, and that's kind of how I worked around it. And everything changed in October of 2019. Like, that's where things that was where I just kind of had like my moment of literally not giving a fuck anymore.
What happened?
Well, I was working on putting together like a family magazine, kind of like a prep guide, if you will, whatnot. And I was, digging on I took a ancestry DNA test. Mm-hmm. And so I had taken it a few years back, and none of my other family members had actually taken it. Mm-hmm. And so, except for like my uncle and one of my cousins, or two of my cousins, and nothing showed up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I was actually going on there to find a photo of one of like a 4-generational photo of my grandma, her grandma, that kind of stuff. So I was looking for that for this magazine that I was putting together. So I opened up my Ancestry DNA because my uncle is kind of like the genealogy person. Okay. And he had this photo that I was trying to find. So I was like, oh, it's probably on there. I'll just grab it from there, continue on making my magazine. So I opened up my Ancestry DNA, and up at the top, it says that like, oh, you have a full brother. And I was in this full brother. I mean, I knew who he was because he's my cousin. And I was like, oh, what? Like, that is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I immediately was like, they must have messed something up. Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Because all my life, the story always went that my mom was married to my father, had my brother, this other guy in my family, brother, and I'm trying not to use names because I'm just like keeping it out there. So my brother, who I always thought was my full brother, then he wanted to meet his father at 13 years old, and so, or 11 or 12, I don't know, somewhere between 11 and 13. So she drove down there to introduce my brother to my said father, and that's where I came out of. And it never really made sense to me because I was like, well, you divorced this man, you hadn't seen him in 13 years. Like, what compelled you to want to have sex with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she always told me like, oh yeah, and like your aunt, so his sister or something, like knew I was pregnant when I left. And I was just like, I was like, oh, weird. And then she always told me that I was born a month early. So I was born on January 1st. And then obviously me being in the healthcare field now and working specifically, or not now, but then I worked in the NICU, labor delivery, all that kind of stuff. I was like, a preemie does not weigh 8 pounds, 9 ounces.
No.
So like the math, like all of a sudden, like, you know, in the movies where like all like your whole life like flashes before your eyes, like all of these like little moments, little memories just like started flooding me because I was like, okay, I gotta call my aunt. And so I called my aunt and I was like, are you my mother?
Oh my God.
Because I was kind of convinced, because I was always kind of closer to her and these two cousins of mine, we were always so much closer than even like who was supposed to be my full brother. Mm-hmm. Like I lived with these guys like for a time period and stuff. And so, and we have like the same laugh and like all sorts of stuff. And I was just like, so did you give birth to me and then like gave me to my mother? And she was like, Mary, that does not even make any sense. And she's like, and your mom, because my mom was she struggled a lot with mental health and had a lot of issues. I was actually taken away from her for child neglect. And so like why would I give birth and like like I literally had to take care of you. Like, and I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'm going to call Ancestry DNA and try to figure out what the F is going on here. Yeah. Like, how is this even possible?
And did you tell your aunt at that time, like, what you saw on the Ancestry thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was super curious. And she was like, that's crazy. Like, I don't understand. Because I was like, you know, your oldest son is showing up as my full brother. Mm-hmm. Like, full sibling. And, like, so to me, in my own little sciencey world, I'm like, it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I called Ancestry DNA, and I was like, so here's the situation. And she said, she kind of chuckled. And she's like, so somebody in your family is lying to you. And I was like, okay, well, that's clear. And she's like, because the only way for you to have like enough shared DNA is if there is either like shared paternal or shared maternal on one or the other sides. She's like, so if your aunt didn't have you, that means that you and your cousins share the same dad.
Wow.
So my uncle was my dad.
Oh my God. And your aunt didn't know?
No.
And obviously your mom knew, but she...
Oh, yeah. She knew.
And so she had been keeping this a secret from everyone.
32 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you... Okay, so what do you do next?
Yeah, what happened
I called my mother.
Yeah.
Like, immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you want to talk to me about this? And she, of course, like, I remember her telling me this, you can't get pregnant from a blowjob, Mary. I was like, stop lying to me. Like, well, you can't get pregnant 6 years later after. And I'm like, no. You are a liar. And so she still hasn't like fully admitted it even until this day.
Wow.
Yes. Like there's still a bit of a denial. And what kind of clicked for me, and this is the story that I'm going with, is that she kind of pulled like, are you guys were like familiar with like David and Bathsheba, where he essentially like sees the woman on the roof bathing, wants to have her, has her, then gets her pregnant, and is like, you need to go sleep with your husband and make him believe that is your child.
Oh, God. Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I believe, which she will never admit, and that's okay. But I know for certain in my own self that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
She ended up getting pregnant, knew she was pregnant. It was like an oh fuck. And so then, let's go meet your dad. Went and slept with him. But the craziest part is that DNA, like paternity, wasn't figured out back then.
Yeah.
Like it was actually 1988, which is when I was born. That's when like paternity testing actually first started to come out.
Got it.
So the only way that you could prove like paternity was through blood typing. Well, she lucked out because both of them and I all share the same blood type.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So this man, who was not my father, paid child support for me my entire life, and I collected Social Security because he had passed away, or he hadn't passed away yet, but so I collected part of his Social Security. He was not my father.
Wow.
And did you, like, growing up, did you have any kind of relationship with him? Did you know him?
So I knew who my uncle was, obviously, because I had hung around him a few times, etc. And then with my paternal, like who I thought was my dad, I visited him twice. Once when I was like 5, and then the other time I was 12. When I was 12, he SA'd me when I met him.
Oh my God.
So this man, so just think about that complex. Like I thought my own father, like did this to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it totally set me on a trajectory. For my life.
Of course.
Like,
oh my God.
So that was the only time that I had met him. So to me, there was an element of relief that this guy was not actually my dad. But then also with that came the other side of things, which was and this is where things really started, like I was telling you last night, where the healing process took place. Because what I didn't tell you is that my uncle, dad, was also my aunt and my mom's stepbrother.
My mind is, I need you to draw a
I know. I'm like trying to understand how this works.
Was he their stepbrother before your aunt and him got married?
Yes.
Okay.
So what happened was my grandma was married, and then she had 5 children. And my mom and my aunt were included in that like pod of children.
Yeah.
Then she ended up getting divorced from him, remarried to another man who was my paternal grandfather.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden his kid comes along, and they were all around the same age.
Yeah.
And that's how, so they met after their mom and their stepdad met. And that's how that.
Were they older?
Like 17.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So they weren't like
Brady
teeny
Bunch situation.
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the reason that it even took off in that is because that my grandfather was a terrible man. He did like awful things to my aunt, awful things to my mother, awful things to my uncles. Like I won't even go into the graphic details of that, but that is like my lineage, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there is like, I personally believe, and science is proving more and more, that epigenetics, the passing down of, certain traits, I had always been super hypersexual all the time. Like, I was humping things all the time when I was like, I think I told you guys that.
In the comment on our...
I, like, used to hump pillows, sides of the bed, anything with a firm surface. Like, I was like my size Barbie. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah. We have a secret. It's out.
Oh my God.
So I always had all this like deep shame, and I just didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And, so it obviously develops a little differently in girls, I feel like, than guys. But I definitely think that that's something that's like passed on, and like with the brain and how your DNA is formed and things like that, where you just have it finally made sense to me. Like when I found that out, I was like, oh, okay. Like that makes sense of like why I, had that. And then also the abandonment issues and all that stuff that came with it. Mm-hmm. But I firmly believe that my dad knew who I was. Like he had, like, come on, you got to be dumber than a box of rocks. But he actually died both of them were dead. My biological dad died when I was 15. Then the other one died like shortly after I turned 18. So
by the time you found everything out, they were both gone.
Gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did your brother, I guess,
so my oldest brother, and so here's the interesting thing about DNA, and I'll just say this, which is really fascinating, because when I was asking her that, I'm like, well, I don't understand how I can show up as a third, like wouldn't we just be half siblings? And she said, no, because you both share so much maternal DNA. And DNA is not like equally distributed. Like it's, that's why like some kids will look so much like their dad and nothing like their mom, because it's not a 50-50 split. She's like, you and your brother share so like scientifically, genetically speaking, you are full siblings, because you share that amount of, like, you have to share a certain amount of DNA in order to be considered full siblings. She's like, you're really 3/4 siblings, because you share, like, it's like sister wives thing going on here. Wow. And so I look, and what's crazy is that, like, he is literally the male version of me.
Really?
Like, we look so similar. Yeah.
You're going to have to show us a picture.
Yeah, show us a picture after.
I will. But anyways, so he kind of was like, he's older. He's like 50 and 53. He's like quite a bit older than I am. So he kind of took it a little bit like, I'm sure like he was upset, but he wasn't like mad or angry. My other brother was like furious.
Okay.
Furious. And what happened for me is I also found out that I had a paternal grandmother still alive. I thought all my grandparents were dead.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I was like pushing like crazy. I just felt inside of me, I'm like, I have to go meet her. Mm-hmm. And he was so dead set against it. He's like, she's like in her 80s. She has this Alzheimer's. Like, we don't even, like, they were kind of all, there was like this skepticism of like, is this really, really true?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all of you suck. You guys are assholes. And I was like, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to send my full brother a DNA test. He's going to take that DNA test. And if he doesn't show up a full brother, there we have it. So like I did my own little project, sent him a DNA test. And the day that I went, here's the crazy part. Like, so my youngest brother kind of like flew down there, not fly down there, but he drove down there to kind of like be protective of his grandmother, right? Because he was like just in an upheaval, and rightfully so. Like, I'm not mad at him for that, having that reaction, that response. But so he was kind of, and she's blind, right?
Okay.
So I was literally on my way driving down there. My older brother was laughing his ass off because my younger brother was kind of getting like tormented in a sense, because he was there with her and she has her tea. And as I was driving down there, she was like, hey, who is that out there? Again, she can't see anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, Grandma, what are you talking about? And she goes, there's this blonde girl out there in the woods. And
Stop. Stop.
Wow.
And he called his brother. He's like, just like freaking out. And I was like, she saw me coming.
Yeah.
So
So grandma's a witch. We love this for her.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, she's seeing things. This is great.
Yeah, and so like symbolic is because my dad was like a lumberjack or tree trimmer, so like I was in the woods, this blonde girl, and we ended up telling her. My aunt was so supportive, like of the whole thing. She was very much so advocating for me and was like, "This isn't right. You guys like need to knock it off and let her meet her grandmother. Like, you know, let her, you know, let my kids meet their great grandmother." And we had that time, and I remember telling her, and she, you know, again, she kind of like went in and out of it, and her son was somebody that was very near and dear to her heart, and we ended up telling her like the truth, and she's like, you know, that happens sometimes. Like she was totally like, whatever. And
I feel like by the time you're like that old, like hearing tea, you're just like, I've heard all the teethers.
You're like, you know, everyone has dark secrets, and
and especially like the generation she grew up in, you know, where it's like you don't have the internet where you can like see everyone else's like dark shit come up. You're just like only hear the things from like best friends, like really it's like, you know everything.
And like, I feel like secret families were a big thing in that generation.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Well, the lady on Ancestry DNA, she's like, you won't believe how many siblings are in Vietnam right now.
I bet,
like siblings that are like, you know, from war, you know, guys. And because it was before they got married and everything too. It wasn't like they were cheating. You know, in my situation, that was definitely it. But for them, it wasn't like that. They just like were over there young and whatever, and then like these siblings or people just happen to take DNA and they're like, oh yeah, we got a brother, sister. She's like, it happens a lot more than you think. And I was like, oh wow. So it was a lot to process, but for me, that's really where, like, that was in 2019. I went and saw my grandmother, and then in 2020 happened. But that was like, so that kind of just set me up on this like whole like deep dive into like, I have to figure out my identity now. Like I had to reshape my entire family tree and fucking family, like the ancestry DNA. My aunt was so helpful in that. And she's really the only living, you know, person that I have to you know, give me memories of my dad, you know, right now. And obviously my brothers too, but so, and he didn't have, you know, a very great reputation either. My dad did some dirty, nasty things himself, obviously, because and that's where I was like, that's it. I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. This is part of like who I am. And I'm going to reclaim and like take what was perverted out of it and give it back. So I'm going to honor like my lineage by making the thing that my family tree did to like the things that they did to the people in their lives. And I'm going to give that back. So in a sense, it's like me restoring my sexuality is a way for me to like make the wrongs right. And also like give, a lot of people don't know this, but like I'm not the person in the like if men will you guys get men messaging you all the time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But I actually have a very deep compassion because an arousal is information. And so I don't shun them out or call them gross or call them nasty, or I will actually give them time and I'll talk to them.
What do you say to them?
Yeah, what do you say?
Well, I had one guy who I was talking to who like made a lot of comments about this part, like I could kind of tell he was a little stalkery-ish about one of my clients. And because he always comments on her photos or whatever. And so we had conversations in the chat where I was like, have you ever thought about doing a photo shoot for yourself? You know, because he would say things like, I know I probably shouldn't say anything. I could tell that he was like kind of struggling with his like attraction to her and like feeling the shame and guilt about it and feeling very unworthy in his own stuff. So I was like, what would happen if you took that energy? I was like, because that's all it is it's energy. Somebody else's existence or being is giving you a jolt. And I was like, what would happen if you used that for yourself? Like, what would that look like? Like, you could take that and go biking. You could take that energy and put it into yourself, because that's all an arousal is. It's information of like, you are looking for connection. It's really not about the sex. It's really not about that. It's more of this, it's deeper than that. It's a call for connection. And I was like, so what are some other ways that you could use that? And we had like this full on conversation. Another guy who is like from the Middle East, he's like, I can't talk about this stuff because it's condemned. Wow. I can't talk about it at all. And nobody's ever even heard me or even talked to me like this before. And even gave me the time of day. I've just been, called a pervert, a sicko, all these other things. And so not that what my grandfather did was like, I'm not trying to give him some kind of like pass because what he did was not okay.
Yeah.
But I think because of the fact that there's so much still where people are struggling with their sexuality, their identity, who they are, there's so much shame. And when we don't have safe spaces for people to be able to even say, like, even for somebody in my grandfather's case, like, I have an attraction to adolescents and I don't know why. And I don't know what to do about it. And I don't, like, where is this even coming from? Which is usually some kind of trauma from them, it's like just passed down.
Yeah.
And being able to have like that safety of being able to say that. And there wasn't, so it just remained in secret.
Yeah.
And then covered with other coping mechanisms like alcoholism. That was one of my dad was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic. And they're covering all this shame, all this stuff that they're trying to deal with. And that's what sexual addiction is. It's just another coping mechanism. You're just trying to get your brain to feel better.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like so in this sense, I'm healing like the maternal side, the feminine side and the masculine side of my family at the same time. And I don't make content for men, but obviously they kind of come along for the ride.
Yeah, always.
But I handle them a little differently than I think a lot of other people do. And I know where to draw boundaries if it gets, like this is, and I'll say that, like, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Like, what's a better way? Like, because a lot of times, and I learned this from some of my family members who were in the exotic industry, I'll just say that, and they would tell me this, they would say most of the time the men who are paying for these services, they don't actually want the service. They just want you to listen to them. They have no one to talk to. Men have no one to talk to. And so, like, she would get paid to have a dance. And she said, we would just spend the entire time talking.
Yeah.
And I would just, like, hold them because they would cry. Because they had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And so it's rough for them out there, too. Like, patriarchy kills them, too.
It hurts everyone, yeah.
And so this is like that kind of all started to open everything up where I was like, no, this there's so much more to this than just, this isn't just about empowerment. This is literally helping women heal these wounds, these shames, this guilt, all of it. And it helped me a lot too. Like, that's where I was that was when I really fully embraced my body and was like, no, I'm not, my existence is not an offense.
Yeah.
This is like so inspiring to me to hear you talk about the way you handle this generational trauma, because I mean, obviously we touched on some of this last night when we were talking, but like I have experienced a lot of similar sort of family generational trauma, addiction, like cycles of abuse, stuff like that. It's all in my family too. And like I have never made that connection that, like, I could sort of help heal some of that out in the world by responding differently to men. And, like, instead of being like, you're trash, fuck off, I could, like, create a safe space. Because you're right, like, there is nowhere for people to go to talk about that stuff. And I feel like really inspired to like sort of handle it differently now, just hearing the way you talk about it. And like, I feel like it could be helpful for me in some of my own family shit.
Yeah. And just having that compassion of knowing that, like, really understanding like what an arousal is, what an attraction is. Those, like, they can't help that. You can't help that. I can't help the pulsating things that happen in my body. Like,
I can't help that we like when the guys make the chicken on TikTok.
But it's what you do with that information is where that change happens. And if they don't have an outlet to be able to understand that about themselves, and they don't have other people who are like, yeah, that's something that my body responds to too, or like, you know, it's so confusing for them to try to figure that out. So they just act out.
Yeah.
And it's not the ones who are outwardly gay or outwardly pan or whatever whatever their sexuality is. The people who are living that out loud are not the predators. It's the people who are not living it out loud that are the predators.
Totally.
Because it's that within themselves, and so they have to cover that up, and they have that shame around it. And that's why, like, when men are telling me, like, you know, I had somebody comment, like, how dare women sell themselves sexually on one of my, like, reels or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, who said we were for sale?
Yeah.
I was like, you know, it's just, it's all coming from this like deep, insecure, systematic everything. So having that, you know, understand, like, that's where I feel like that's kind of the curse of healing, is that you have so much compassion for people where you're just like, you know, this is built in systematically for them and they're just not awake to it yet. They haven't realized it yet. But being able to have that different response of like, not the knee jerk punch you in the face kind of like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a time and a place for that, but I feel like that can disarm somebody from getting to that place, because you're not necessarily rejecting them. You're just helping guide them into a different direction of like, so what you're really saying is that you're lonely.
Yeah.
I know you're lonely. I know that you don't have anybody to talk to. I know that that's what this is really about, because that's what it is. And when you call them on that, that hits them so deeply, and they're just like, oh my gosh, you know. And that's where I'll say, like, do you have a therapist? Do you have anybody that you can talk to about this stuff? Because I think it's really important that you take care of yourself. I really think it's important that you love yourself and give yourself that space to be able to have some people in your life. And sometimes you have to pay for it. But instead of paying a prostitute, you could just pay a therapist. It's cheaper probably.
And they're like actually like trained to deal with like whatever mentally is going on in ways that, you know, someone that's like not trained isn't going to provide the same level of service to you. You know, to like truly heal those things.
And so, and I, because I know that, I mean, I don't know any personal like sex workers or anything like that, but that I can probably tell you is there would probably be a few that could probably say amen to that, you know, like that's exactly what happens, you know, and not to do what you got to do. Like, that's not my journey, but at the same time, I'm like, I understand that everybody's helping people heal in certain different ways. But for me, that's where that reclaim comes, and just seeing it from a different light. And that's how I honor my own lineage without, you know, again, it's not an excuse. It's not a pass. It's not like, you know, that's not what I'm saying. Accountability has to be held. Totally. You know, the cops should have been called. Prosecution should have happened. The proper steps, you know, ought to have been taken. And that would have been the most loving thing for that person to finally, because that's probably when he could have gotten some help. You know?
Well, that is the only way, like people who, like, child abusers can really get help, is to like have the cops called on them. Like, they can't really like, can you go to a therapist and be like, I am attracted to children, and like, will they help you, or will they turn you into, you know, like, I don't know.
Well, see, and that's the thing. There's such a stigma about it, and it's like, well, then what is happening, or is there any kind of like help that they're getting in prison systems? I don't think so.
Because we know like the rehabilitation is not where it needs to be. With
and a lot of those people get the shit beat out of them.
Exactly.
And it's like they get put into that place. And it's like, but what you're not understanding is this is like a mental illness. You know, and that's what needs to be treated, and treat it like a mental illness, like it is. And taking that stigma away from it because it is. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. But the same thing is true about the serial killers and everything else. It's a mental illness. And it's like, if we had the proper intervention, medication, supervision, programs, etc., for people to be able to have that, you know, and sometimes that does mean kind of putting them in their own kind of space. I don't know, like being able to have special housing for that, where they also have the protection, because I understand that is protection for them from committing these crimes and also protection from the community. But there is no kind of like safe gates or anything like that around here, or at least that I don't know of. But I don't know. I just feel like if there would have been a place for him to be able to, talk about those things and have somebody that he could say those things to, and not just get put in a different place and just excommunicated, that's not enough. That's kind of like putting your kid on a timeout and not explaining to them
why they're on timeout.
Like
what to do next time.
Like, we're gonna let you back out, but time does not heal the wounds. They just get bigger.
Well, like I said, it's all a cycle, right? So a lot of times that's happening because, like, I'm sure when your grandpa was a kid, really fucked up stuff happened to him, and it's like this stuff just kind of like perpetuates until somebody does get some kind of help or whatever it is. But
someone has to break the chain at some point.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I want to just reassure people, is that just because there's this thing out there that because I was abused, I'm going to abuse other people, and that's not true. That's a very, very small percentage of where that happens. Most of the people who've been abused, or whatever, children that have been abused, are actually very opposite of that.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm not saying it's like that's why, but I'm just saying it's like that causes a trauma that then it's like you're dealing with that, and like how you deal with it is like so different for people, and so it's like getting the help to deal with it is what people need. There was like a TikTok that I saw, like I saw you say. I am Taylor's twin on TikTok, but somebody was saying, it's kind of just like feeling that, like, great, like my family, because I think that's something that my brothers kind of felt a little bit, was like there's so much shame in like who our dad is and who our grandfather is. Like, they don't want people to know. They're like, this is like, we would love that to just die. We don't want people to know that. But I'm like, but getting it out there is part of that healing process. It's part of like bringing it to the light so it can heal. Like, wounds don't heal in the darkness, they heal in the light. And it's nothing that we did, that we need to be ashamed of. But I also feel like it is part of my responsibility, to my children, to my community, to just in general, to make those wrongs right in some kind of way, which is why I started the project that I did.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a good transition, because I feel like talking about the project now.
Tell us about your project. This is so cool. I'm so excited for you to tell people about this.
Yes. So it's kind of a unique way of, again, cultivating the healing side that Boudoir does. So one thing that I'm sure you guys hear all the time, and I think a lot of Boudoir photographers hear, is that this was so healing. This was such a healing experience. Like,
I want to come back every month.
Like, I want to do this all the time. Like, this was the best thing that I have ever done. And it's not just, it's really not so much the photos as much the space that we create for women to feel safe and express themselves. But the photos definitely help a lot. And it takes people, leaps and bounds further. So part of when I started doing this deep dive was like understanding the science. So the book that I read, called It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin, talks about like the science experiments that they did on rats to show the generational trauma. And one of the things that they did, for example, was they had like the grandpa rat, they would have them smell cherry blossom and then inflict pain, like hit their leg or like hit the rat essentially, or the mouse, or I don't even know what it was, but it was some kind of rodent. They would smell it, hit it. And then they breed really fast, right? So they were able to have like grand pups within a couple of months. And so then the next ones, they would just have them smell the cherry blossom, and the grand pups would have a reaction. They would try to get away because it was part of that survival of like, when I smell this thing, pain happens. And so that's how they were able to showcase that. But one of the things that he talked about was how visualization tools like can help heal experiences. So like you can have because your brain does not know the difference between reality and fiction. So one of the things that can help is you can actually reimagine a relationship with somebody, and your brain, like a healing, like you can literally reimagine in your brain, like me talking to my dad, for example, and like having a full-on conversation with him and having a different conversation, and my body will be able to benefit from the like grieving, like the hearing him say sorry in my mind, or you don't have to carry this, etc. My body will have the same response as if it actually happened.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is super interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, the brain is cool.
Well, that's why, okay, do you guys ever do this where when you get in a fight with someone or you're having like an issue with someone, you replay the shitty conversation over and over again, and I feel like it works you up more?
Yes.
And it builds the resentment when you're hearing it over and over again, or you're like replaying the next conversation and thinking about what's the worst thing they can say. Like, it's the same thing.
It is.
Your brain is believing that it actually happened, so now I hate them even more.
Well, it's just, exactly. And I mean, I've totally had the dreams where like my husband has cheated on me, and I wake up and I'm like, you sick piece of mother... Like, I just, I'm so upset. Like, say your name. Like, and I, like, as if it happened, and because in my body it felt like it did. So it doesn't know the difference. I'm really waiting for the time where I can just imagine myself exercising and my body's like benefited.
Yes, the endorphins are here.
But there is an element of that. There is studies that like your heart rate goes up and like you actually burn more calories when you think about it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not going to be the exact same effect, but you know, wild. You get it. There's that. So he was talking about this, like how like pictures in our minds and things like that can be really, really helpful. So I was like, that's it. That's what this is. And I was like, but what we do with our work is we actually take the hard work, because some people just have a really hard, like they're like, that's too woo for me, like I am like, I do not even want to have a conversation with this person, or whatever the case might be, or even with their own body, like trying to heal their relationship with their body and trying to see it differently when they have all of their life have only had that perspective of looking in the mirror or the back of the mirror, or some idiot taking their phone or taking their picture on a phone who does not know how to like guide them, you know, aka their husband. Like all my pictures are like me sleeping, and I'm like, I hate you. Like, I just hate you right now.
I literally say that to almost every client at the image reveal, because they're always like, this isn't me. There's no way this is me. And it's like, no, like, just people do not understand how to take photos, and like don't understand angles, and it's just like don't understand how to give you some direction when they're taking a photo. And so it's like all these photos, quote unquote, that you've seen of yourself, like that's not actually how you look. Like, this is what you look like this is you. You know, it's just like,
I mean, both of them are true. You do look like that. But you also look like this.
Like, but if that's all you're seeing is those horrible photos, you think that's the, like,
that's
this
where
is
the
what I look
dysmorphia
like,
comes.
you know, period, or whatever. It's like, that's not the case.
Yeah, and that's where that dysmorphia comes in, because they're like, that's what they're seeing in the mirror. And they have had that, you know, that pathway gets ingrained in the brain with those neuron pathways, like those cells, and they're firing both with electricity and with the actual chemicals that are happening. And so that gets ingrained on top of all of the, you know, like to your lips, to your hips, or whatever else, like our mom said growing up. Jesus, like the first bullies in our life. But they didn't know. I mean, it was just passed down stuff. So you have all of that piled on top of, you're looking in the mirror, and that's the only version of you ever get to see. So I know that the brain really loves two things: no pain, the path of least resistance, and dopamine. And so what we do is we create the dopamine experience because we are hyping, we are giving that space, we are giving that attention, that validation, so that it's new, usually novel, like something that's they've never done before. So they get that dopamine hit. And then on top of that, they're also getting an easier pathway for their brain to believe. It's now a buy-in. It's an easy buy-in for them. It takes them a minute, but there's no denying, like, that's your ass. That's 100% your ass. And actually cellulite is not there in that angle. You know, and I think that's really hard for women to see, that they really are walking, living, breathing shapeshifters. That's what we are. We shapeshift all the time. And so it's not, this isn't a lie. This is what you look like in that position. And that's why there's that cognitive dissonance between you and your lover, because they're like, what the F are you talking about? And you're like, look at all my cellulite. And they're like, don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. Those cheeks are clapping and I'm happy. Like, I don't understand what you are talking about. Literally do not see that. And then when I show them that, that's part of the process too, is I actually do, especially with my clients who are in this project, I make sure to sit them down before they leave and show them the back of my camera, scrub through all of their photos, completely unedited, dirty frames, everything, because they need to see that's part of the that's one of the therapy techniques that I use to show them completely unretouched. And then when they get to see their images, we talk about, I'm not going to sit there and be like, no, I'm not going to edit out your cellulite. You have to love yourself exactly how it is. I'm never going to retouch anything for you because they'll get there eventually, especially if they keep doing it. And so eventually they'll start to get used to this new, like, I become your new mirror now. I'm your new mirror. Like, that's what happens. So in the brain, it's a path of least resistance. It's the two things that our brain loved the most, which is to avoid pain. And it's painful for the brain to have to like do all of this thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we don't do it. That's why affirmations don't work a lot of the times. At least for me, they don't. I can sit there and be like, I love you. You're so great. Like, but when I see a picture of myself and, I'm just like, damn girl, like, let's go. Like,
it like does the work for you.
It does the work for you. Yeah. And so that's why, like, when one of my, I want to say patients almost, because it's like, that's one of my patients. But one of my clients said to me, she's like, what just transpired here in these 3 hours would have taken me 3 years to get to in talk therapy. She's like, actually, I don't even know if I ever would have gotten to this point.
Yeah.
And one of the messages that one of the ladies in the project told me was, I have never liked myself, ever.
It's so sad.
That's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and she's like, and now I'm like, I just can't get enough.
Yeah.
And that one lady didn't even own a full-length mirror. She bought a full-length mirror.
Wow.
She ended up like wearing a dress, like she's like, I don't get dressed up. I don't wear cute stuff because I don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
I don't want attention drawn to me.
Yeah.
Because of all of that. So the Broken and Beloved Project is essentially, I call them portrait therapy sessions. I mean, you can call them, but it works the best with intimate portraiture, boudoir, because especially if people are really trying to work on healing their relationship with their body, it's a really great tool. So we start with like a mini session in the beginning, then we have their boudoir session in the end. So it's kind of like a portrait therapy sandwich. So we just kind of introduce them to the whole concept. If they're coming back or if they feel ready to kind of like add a little, like, a little bit sensuality to it, we'll do that. But it doesn't have to be. They can literally just wear like their favorite outfit and just, because we both know that you don't have to take your clothes off to express, do boudoir. We know that.
Yeah.
So that's completely up to them. That introduces it to them. Then what we're doing in between is we're meeting twice a month. So we do something fun in the beginning, or in the beginning of the month. So that's like pole dancing classes. We do this as a group. And so it gives me an opportunity to kind of date my clients in a sense. And I have the community support it.
Yeah.
So I like sell sponsorships. And do like some little branding for people, like people who are in the healing community who want, and I give them specific access to these women. So that way they can provide them something valuable. Like they can't just come and sell to them. They have to like give like a free workshop or, just spend time with them in different like relationships. They have to create relationship with them. So, but they get to have like basically a primed and ready, perfect candidate for them. So it has to be branding with somebody in like the beauty industry or somebody working with women in some way, shape or form, trauma, all that stuff. That's who I will only work with. Smart. But that pays for like the pole dancing classes. So the only thing that these ladies are paying for is their photo shoot.
Okay.
And so then everything else, I just use that money to pay for their classes so they don't have to worry about that.
That's
so
cool.
We go to pole dancing, we have like a sound bath, we have painting classes. We do 9 different opportunities. And what that does is it also helps them stretch, get out of their comfort zone and come in person because they have to come.
And this is over the course of 9 months that because it's twice a month. Okay, so the first half of the month is like the fun activity. What's the second activity in the month?
That's a book club. So mine is boundaries. It's always going to be boundaries, like, because that's what I love to eat, sleep, and breathe is boundaries. Yeah. And so we do some education on that and coaching through that. So I do some like group coaching with them. And so they do, like, they have a little homework, like we're doing it together. So they're filling out, reading the book, filling out the workbook, and then we meet like virtually and online. So there's a group of people who just want to meet in person. They go and kind of do like a little watch party for the Zoom call. And then I lead them through like a coaching session essentially, and we dig some stuff up and they get to share. And then this year new is because I have people coming back from last year. They're my ambassadors. So now they're like, we want to teach, we want to lead. And I was, so these ladies are like, we want to be a part of this and cool continue community. To keep,
No, it is.
So now I'm like assigning them like for the newbies, they're getting assigned to some of the ambassadors who know the ropes and who've been through this already. So that way they can check in with them like weekly and be like, hey, how you doing? So nobody falls through the cracks and like gets left behind. And I feel like with that more intimate space, they're going to be able to open up a little bit more and be able to become friends faster. So so we do that.
It's so powerful too to be talking to someone regularly who like literally just went through it, you know?
Yep. And so, and what's so nice about that, and like this isn't therapy. It's definitely, because therapy is more like, when people ask like, what's the difference between therapy and coaching? Well, therapy really goes back to be able to help you deal with your present.
Okay.
So that's like understanding your past so you can function in your present. These are people that are having trouble getting through the day. Like I cannot function because I'm like being tormented by whatever or depression, etc. Where coaching is future focused. So we're not like, we understand, we can kind of like talk about maybe where some of these patterns develop from, but we're not spending time there and trying to like have all these coping tools and all this other stuff. We're really focused on what do you want? Like, what's your future self? Where does she want to be? And what actions are we going to do in the present today to get you to her? So that's more along the lines of coaching. So it's really more of, you know, talking about like what's presently going on in their situation. So like an example was, you know, a family member said this, and this is what I'm struggling with, how to respond. And so that's where I can come in and be like, you know, taking them through kind of like a systematic approach for setting boundaries of like, find the pain, find the violation, you know, and then here's a few different ways you could say something, and then come back and tell us what happens. And so they get to practice because they're not being fire hosed like at a conference or something. So they get to have like bite size, implement it, more, implement it, more, implement it. So they're gradually working on it over the course of 9 months. And so it's doable, especially for people who have like busy lives. Because like it's really hard to have that. And then the other thing that's really nice is it gets to a point where they start supporting each other. So like on my private Facebook group, for example, somebody might be going through something like and having a tough time with something that happened or that they're experiencing. And then I won't see it, but everybody has already flocked. And has been like, you know, remember what Mary said? Like they just, you know, so that's something that I'm really excited for this year, because to have those ambassadors who have been through it and to be able to help, you know, they're just helping one another now. And so all it just took was just starting the fire, and that's it.
Cool. It's like it has kind of created like a life of its own that's not necessarily dependent on you every single day making it keep going. It's like this community now that
and it's coaching yourself, like giving you the life skills that you need to be able to make the decisions, and giving that empowerment and giving that education around it. And you know, it's just me turning around and using the information that I have to help them through. But one of the fun parts at the end is I put together a magazine for them. So it's called The Beloved, and it has like, in the back of it has their like first photo that they choose, and then they have to share wisdom they would have given to themselves 5 years ago.
That's so cool.
I love that.
And so it's kind of like, now you're your future, like you're your future self. What would you say to your past self 5 years ago today? Like how, like, so they get to share kind of their own story and what they want to, and then they get a full page in the magazine with their like favorite boudoir photo.
Can I buy a copy?
Yes. They're on sale. They're $20 for digital copies.
You sell copies to other people. I love this.
Yeah, so cool.
And then I have the sponsors have ads in there. So they get different ad space in the magazine. And and so it's really, it's all about them. And then we have a premiere party. So I rented out this like bougie rooftop venue. We're all going to get dressed up with like black tie gowns, the whole nine. And then I have a DJ and like a videographer coming, and we invite the community too. So everybody like it's a women's ladies night. So they get to invite like their friends. And so they all get tickets for free. And then I give the sponsors tickets to invite their clients and people too. And then we sell tickets to fundraise and create so I can continue to keep doing what I'm doing.
That sounds so fun.
No, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah. So the funny thing is like I want to teach and coach more photographers how to implement this into their businesses. And so actually I have somebody who's starting the Broken Beloved project in Dallas and in Florida. So she's coaching under me, and she's part of my requirement is you have to go through the program because you learn by experience.
Totally.
So I'm like, yeah, I want this program to be nationwide so I can have a network of photographers who are trained in like the portrait therapy type of model. They've got the resources that they need to be able to like have the coaching things that they would need for these ladies. And then because I had to turn 5 people away because they're just not in the area. Mm-hmm. And it works best when you can show up, and it's more of an in-person something. Like there's so many online forums that you can be a part of, and that's part of the problem is that we don't have enough face-to-face opportunities for women to connect, and we need to have that covenant that convent of women being able to meet in order for the growth to really take place, because we lose so much of communication if we're not able to have like touchable, like, you know, that in itself is so healing and therapeutic for women. So that's where I'm like, yep, I'm going to continue to keep training other photographers how to implement this and how to price it and how to set it up, because what's nice is that everybody is like, they can either pay in full or they can do a subscription. Mm-hmm. So the benefit for photographers is that you get to have predictable monthly income.
Yeah.
So all of my shoots are taking place in the fall, and then I get to have income every single month leading up to that. So it creates a lot of room, flexibility, predictability. So I know what bills I can afford and everything else, but you can always add on top of it. But that kind of becomes like your baseline, if you will. And it makes it really affordable for the people who are going through the program too, to be able to have like that luxury experience.
I love this.
Yeah.
Do you, at this point, do you just take one-off boudoir shoots too, or do you, okay, you do. So it's not just people going through the program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting to the point now where I want to add some associate photographers on to kind of take those offshoots and just take care of that, because this is really where my heart is, is this. And then also like having, like my dream is to have like the Portrait Therapy Academy where I can train photographers about the science behind what we do, because it's already there, it's been there, but to be able to, like, I would love to have a research team literally like take sputum samples of people's stress levels before and after a shoot, for example.
That would be really cool.
This is really empowering for me as a photographer to hear this like science evidence, you know, because I feel like it helps me feel confident that like, no, this is going to literally alter someone's like brain when they see these photos, you know, and like I can feel confident in that.
Yeah, and we hear it, right? It's like people tell us like the impact it has on them, but to see like the evidence behind that would be so cool.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm starting to collect now. I'm collecting data as the women are coming in, they're taking assessments and like surveys to be able to kind of gauge where they're at emotionally, physically, even their health improves too, because a lot of times like they're making decisions for themselves, like New Year's resolutions, for example. I need to lose weight, but it's not from a place because I really love myself. It's because I hate myself and I need to love myself. And by doing these things, I will love myself. And when they get there, they find that nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And so this is a way for them to be able to, a lot of women will say like, this really gave me the motivation that I needed to like start, because I tell them like, you need to work out before your shoot. Like if you've never worked out before, go to some yoga classes, because you're going to be sore. It's a workout.
Yeah.
And so I want you to start moving your body and taking care of it. You know, think of all the prep we put them through of like drink more water, eat, you know, whole nutritious foods, like take care of yourself, you know, start acting like the celebrity, like that's what celebrities have to do. Like that's what models have to do. They are the billboard. They have to take care of this. So start treating your body accordingly. You are the main character.
Yes.
So
I love this. I love this.
Yeah. So start treating yourself accordingly. Like, you know, and so that really sets them up for like, why have I been putting myself on the back burner? Because that, you know, the whole thing of self-care, it's not just like a bubble bath and, reading a good book. It's doing the hard work of understanding who you are and your identity and getting to your core self and what your desires are, spending time with yourself, like all of that. So it's a journey that I love to take women on and adding the like all of my loves together. Like I never thought in this world that I would be able to take my applied science degree and like make it like connect with Boudoir.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, man, this is science. I'm like totally geeking out over here over like which research team is gonna come and like do this. But I can do my own research, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I did it the last time, and I had a survey, like an exit survey for them, and there was 0% that did not have a change in their relationship with their body.
Of course.
So it's 100% effective.
Yeah.
This is 100% effective.
I'm not surprised at all.
No.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see the data this year because I got smarter and was like, I'm going to ask more questions to see how people's, like, even how they feel measuring their health, like physical health, on how this has an impact in their emotional health and their stress levels. Yeah. All of it.
Yeah.
Combined. I'm also curious about because you said there's a few people that are like repeating. Like I would love to see like how those people have changed over the course of now like 2 years of going through this process.
Yeah.
Because that like
and I'll have that data when it comes out, which is really, really fun to like. It just brings the Geek Squad nerd in me and brings it together with like sexy science.
Sexy scientist Mary.
Science is so sexy. Like
you need like a Reels or TikTok segment where you like just break down the sexy science and like all your learnings.
But like in a lab coat with lingerie.
Yes. Or just nude. Because I just like to be, you should see me nude.
Yeah. Nude, but like maybe with a table of beakers in front of you.
Yes. I mean, can we make this happen tomorrow?
Yes. We might have time to build a set.
I actually really like this idea.
Yeah. So I love it. I mean, people don't have to call it the Broken and Beloved Project. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You know, put your own spin on it. The woman who's doing it, Rose B, she's another one I met at the Portrait Masters, and she's like, I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. She's doing like a different book that she likes, you know? So it can be totally catered to whatever it is that floats your boat and like whatever your audience, like obviously you guys live in a place that's a lot more liberal, and so you can have like different types of conversations that I can have where I live, people are clothed like this most of the time and none of their skin is showing, and so I have to take a little bit of a different approach, but it's one that still works. It's like it's gonna work either way, and it's just being able to connect with them and create the retention, because like I was telling you, I don't know if we recorded this part or not, but about how like I don't want this to be a bucket list thing. This is no longer a luxury. This is a necessity in your life.
Preach.
This is not like one of those things where you're like, oh, it's just what I have for extra. No, you need to make room in your budget for this, because this is now, it's because that never sat well for me. Kind of like, this is only available for people who have the funds, and it's like, nope, it's available for the people who value themselves. Period. Point blank. Nothing else more than that. And so, you know, we all have different values, and that's fine. Some people this might not be their tool that they want to use to, you know, take for their healing or discovery or celebration. But for women, especially in the culture that we live in, it's super, super healing. Yeah. So, yeah, I love it.
I love how yesterday when you, on your reel that you posted before you took off, you were talking about how you're headed on you have like your quarterly portrait therapy or something. But I mean, that's like right what you're saying, you know, and we have a lot of clients too that after, like they might book and be like, oh, it's like my once in a lifetime. But then after the reveal, they're like already planning when they can rebook and do it again, you know. But it's true. It's like every time you see these photos of yourself, it just like sparks something in you.
Yeah. And it is so like main character energy to be able to be like, okay, I have this idea of, wouldn't it be cool to be like the bougie lady in the big kill your husband robe on a flight of stairs or whatever, and then like bring that to life and see those photos of yourself and really feel like the main character and get to kind of continue like fantasizing and experiencing it. And like, I don't know, I just feel like there's something so like cool about that, about not having it just be once, but like this is just like a part of how I live, and I get to like express myself in this way.
Yeah. And when you think about things like the law of attraction, manifesting, all that kind of stuff, that's something that is really unique for photographers, because we don't have to go through the trouble of like, I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're on a beach somewhere. Bitch, we're going to the beach.
Hell
like
yeah.
today.
Yes.
You want that mansion? Let's take photos in that mansion. Like, you know, like that's like that's the kind of like you don't have to imagine it. We can make that possible for you, even if it's not like currently your lifestyle, but to just be able like screw the vision board of like you're on your own vision board.
Yeah, like let's go take the photos and then put them up on your wall.
The way you manifest is you become what you want to be.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah,
I'm here for all of this.
I'm like my gears started turning when you were like combining all the things I love. I'm like, how can I combine my love of dance with photography and like making content and like turn this all into one boudoir experience? So
exactly. Yeah. Well, dancing, I mean, is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful art, and to be able to like, well, video, I think, is really going to be where it's at for dance.
Yeah.
Because that's where you can really get. I mean, oh my gosh, I love those like sexy videos that like Janae, like what is it? Naughty Girl Fitness. Have you guys ever seen that?
No, but I've seen like, is it like a heels dancing type of thing? Like
it's not heels. It's just like it's workout, but it's always choreographed.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, but you'll have to look it up because I'm like, okay, that would be something that I want to do. Is I want to rent out a space with like a projector and like we just do the workout together because it's like she's like touch your body, and then like slaps and like goes up, and I'm just like, oh my god, like that's a really good pose.
Yes.
Like,
oh my
hold
god.
it.
I feel like those types of like when you go to a class where there's choreography and you have a good instructor like who's kind of inspiring you to like freestyle or feel yourself or touch yourself, like I have so many moments where I'm like, oh, this is like I need to use this with clients and be like get them in this space, but like I feel like I haven't totally gotten there yet with like you know, I don't want to be like, all right, it's a dance class now. I know you signed up for a boudoir shoot, but we're actually doing choreography the whole time.
Well, I definitely think you could add that element of it, of like, you could add like your own little routine for them to be able to do, because I mean, just think about all the different shots you could get with them adding movement, and with adding video like we're going to do, you'll see like that is exactly what you're going to be coaching them to do. Yeah. So that, because you can't just have like a video of everybody sitting still. Either you have to be moving or they have to be moving. Yeah. So it'll definitely open up that door for you for sure, where people can use that as another form of, you know, therapy to see themselves in motion, and like they get to connect with themselves in that way. Like again, it's like taking like it out of you, like literally kind of like that out of body experience. You know, like I'm watching myself.
Totally.
And damn, I'm really attracted to me.
And I feel like there's something about video too where it feels even more real sometimes than a photo, because it's like it's happening. I'm there. I can see it now. It's not just like this still frame that was captured. You know.
I need to show you guys the music video that me and my husband made.
Oh yeah.
Yes. As soon as we're done recording. Yes.
He's a shy guy, so he won't let me share it like publicly, but I'm like, come on.
Oh my god.
And that's how I like this. I just want to say this to the men out there if they're listening to this, or maybe this segment. But if you are a man who has a woman who is like loving herself, posting pictures of herself, etc., like can you get on board with the fact that like supporting her in that? Because when you have that love for yourself, when you have that, like if you don't want to have sex with yourself, you don't want to have sex with anybody else, period.
Yeah. I love this.
So it's true. Like when we think about like the female turn on, like if we're not the turn on, we're not doing it. We love that whole like. And there is something to be said about, I want people to look at me, but I don't want to be touched. Mm-hmm. Like, so there is something about that. And I'm sure there's like some narcissistic whatever, but at the same time, but can you hold the space for your girlfriend, wife, whatever, to basically know that this is benefiting me 100%, because the more she loves herself, the more we get to have this intimate time. Mm-hmm. And being secure in the fact that just because she wants to be looked at and not touched doesn't mean that she doesn't want to be touched. She wants you to touch her. Yes. Right? And like, this is something that I've even said to my own husband of like, I would love to just put you on the internet and just be like, yeah, and he's mine. Thank you. Like there is something to be said about like, look, and she's mine.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
I'm like, you're the only person on this planet that literally gets to be inside of me.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
the highest honor there is.
There's nothing higher than that. And so it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like show and tell. Like, look at my brand new whatever. And you're really excited about it. And you're like, and it's mine.
Yes. I would love to be a stripper who doesn't give lap dances, who just performs and is looked at and complimented and has money thrown at them, but doesn't have to actually touch anybody.
No touching.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, I know that's not how it works, and that's a fantasy, but I love the idea of that, because it's the same thing. It's like, I want to be looked at, and I want to feel myself and feel good, but the only person I want to have sex with is my husband. Yeah. You know, the only person I want touching me is him.
Yeah. Like, don't touch me. There was a TikTok where that exact same thing came up, and she was like, if women were really honest, like, about things, and one of them was like, she was like dancing in the club, and the guy's like, hey, can I buy you a drink? And she's like, you could, but then I would feel obligated to talk to you. And and she said that exact same thing where she's like, and I just like really want to just be looked at but not touched. Yes. So I can't accept your drink offer. And it's like, appreciate it. I mean, there are so many men that I like, men and women, where I just like, you know, I just appreciate that beauty. And I'm like, you know, and if I have that arousal or if I have that attraction, again, I know deeper that is not something inherently bad. I know that that's like, man, I think I need to call my friends and go out, or I think I need to do something for myself, because obviously, you know, that's what my body is telling me is like, pay attention to me.
Yeah, it's like a sign you need connection and self-love.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really interesting.
So, I love it.
Wow, I feel like we just did a therapy session.
I literally feel, I'm like, my mind is, I don't know, I have like so many thoughts right now. I'm so excited.
Yes. So portrait therapy, that's the new thing.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
We're love portrait therapists.
Yeah, we're portrait therapists. Welcome to your therapy session. Because that's what they feel when they, like, that's exactly it. And it's more than just the photos. It's everything that we put into it and the experience we create, all of it. It's just, it's really important what we do. It's, and that's the thing that I love too, is like my clients have said that to me more and more times than not, of like, what you do matters. What you do is changing people's like lives. And it's not that the person is changing. It's just we're changing how we see ourselves. We're changing how we relate to ourselves. Who you are is always going to be who you are. You don't change who you are. You change how you relate to who you are.
Yeah. And that changes your entire life. I mean, it changes your relationship with everyone else and the way you live. And, you know, it has this butterfly effect that
everybody gets to benefit from you loving yourself. Everyone.
Wow. Okay. I feel like this has ended really well, but do you have an obsession in mind? Because we always end with our obsessions.
Oh, obsessions.
And you don't have to go first.
Yeah, you guys go first. Let me think. I'm going to get a drink of water.
I have 2 obsessions this week. I couldn't narrow it down.
I love that.
One is a thing, and one is like a free thing that anyone can do. So the first one is my, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it on my stories, my fold up treadmill, or walking pad, whatever you want to call it. It's like a miniature treadmill basically that you can put underneath your standing desk so you can walk while you work, which, you know, for me has been awesome because I found that I can edit photos just fine while I'm on it. And I don't go super fast. I go like 0.6 or 0.7 miles or whatever. So it's like you're going slow enough that you're not jerking around while you're trying to like patch tool someone's under eye. And, but I love it. It just like, it's nice to be like moving. It's really hard for me to get myself to go outside sometimes when it's like fucking just drizzling all day long and gray. And it was something I really wanted for Christmas. My husband got it for me and I'm obsessed with it. So mine is from, I forgot the name of the brand, but we have the same one.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. I love that. Mine sits in my breeze bay unused, but that's okay. It gets some love every once in a while.
Well, it's broken, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully mine doesn't fucking break.
We can link it in the stories.
Yeah, I'll link the brand in the stories. But yeah, love that thing. I have a friend who already bought one when I started talking about it. So, you know, I love that. The other thing is just this thing that like my friend from pole class told me about. She's a coach and she does a lot of like self-love coach, relationship coaching, that sort of thing. And we were just talking about all kinds of shit. And she told me that one of the things she often tells her clients to do is when you're putting on lotion, like act like you're worshiping your own body. Like, make it this thing where you're sort of like, all right, I'm worshiping at the altar of this leg, and I'm gonna like do it as if this is like truly like some ritual. And you can even film yourself to like make it like, okay, I'm putting on a show. And like, she was saying that it'll change the way you feel about your own body and like the way you feel about your own touch. And I like went home and did it after I took a shower that night, and I was like, I love this. Like, this, it feels so like nice to like treat myself that way. And it's also just like, I don't know, it's just like one of those things where like I don't often like give myself that moment of like self-care and like kind of like you know, like, okay, I am insecure about my inner thighs or whatever, but like if I like put lotion on them and I touch them really softly, I can appreciate that they're really soft, and they're like, this is like, it feels really good to touch them like this. And it was just a nice experience that I'm like, I'm just going to try and incorporate this into like what I do after the shower every day. Cause like, why the fuck not? So that is like a thing that anybody can do. All you need is some lotion. If you don't have lotion, just do it with fucking some coconut oil from your kitchen. I don't know.
Olive oil.
Yeah.
Butter.
Yeah. But those are my 2 obsessions this week.
I'm going to try that tonight. That's a really good idea.
Let me know how it goes.
I was like the idea of filming it. Like,
yeah.
that's so fun. Did you film it?
No, I didn't. Okay. But I mean, I could see doing that, and then if you want to, you could send it to someone.
I know.
That's like a sexy video, you know?
Sexy, yeah.
Oiling yourself up.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm on board for that.
Or just like watch it yourself later.
Yeah.
I mean, like Mary said, you need to want to fuck yourself.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And there's nothing better than that. Like, that's I can see how, like, my brain is like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, why that would work.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I also have 2 obsessions this week. Okay. So my first one, I just went to that bachelorette party over the weekend, and you know, everyone gets like a goodie bag of like stuff at bachelorette parties, and we got really amazing. Okay, so I've never been an UGG girl. Okay, and we got these really cute UGG slippers in our little bags that. I know, it was a very, very nice gift.
This is a next level bachelorette party bag.
Yeah, the maid of honors really crushed it. They're like these slippers that are, it's like fuzzy slipper, and it's like a two strap over the toe. So it's like open toe, 2 strap, and then like a back strap. So kind of like a sandal, but really fuzzy. They're so soft. They're so incredible. I think I'm going to make them my new studio slippers. And they have a back strap. So when I'm scaling the fire escape, it'll be a little bit more secure.
You're going to be more secure. Yeah, that makes me, that's such a relief for me.
So I'm really excited. And they're so soft. They're so comfortable. Like, I guess I've become an UGG girl now at this point. Yeah. So
Uggs, they're coming back.
Amazing.
Colin is wearing his Uggs around the house every day now too. Yeah.
Wow. Let's take a picture of that and put that on the story.
Okay.
And then my second one is there's this new ice cream shop that I found in Northwest Portland, and it's called Cosmic Bliss, and it's like everything is organic, everything is gluten-free. I'm not gluten-free, but for the gluten-free people, everything's gluten-free. Half of their menu is dairy, and then the other half is dairy-free. Oh. And they have a bunch of different toppings, and the ice cream tastes delicious. And I was just telling Taylor yesterday that we got to take you, so we'll take you. But it's so good. I was so pumped. So recommending that to everyone. I think they like just opened. I just saw it.
Do you know what the bases are for the non-dairy ones? Like coconut, cashew. We'll find out when we go.
We'll find out. We'll ask. Yeah. I actually had a dairy one, so I didn't ask about the non-dairy ones.
I'm just curious because I don't like coconut milk ice cream, but all the other ones I like.
Yeah, like oat and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or there's cashew, too.
Cashew is really good because it's so creamy.
Yeah.
But coconut is just like, it's always icy and tastes too much like coconuts.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
So.
I love that.
We'll go.
Yeah.
Try that from our ice cream influencer.
Yes.
Okay, so the 2 that I have would be, so I hate drinking water. So what I found that like makes it a lot easier for me, and I will probably pick some up at the store while I'm here, but I love putting lime juice in my water, but I also add salt.
Oh.
So I add salt and the lime, and that together in the water, just like, I don't know, for some reason salt just makes it easier to go down. Not a lot, just like a pinch, you know?
Yeah. Well, salt makes everything better.
It makes everything better. And so I can like chug water so much faster with salt and lime in it.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I wonder if there's some sort of benefit too with like the electrolytes of putting the salt and the lime in there.
I think it makes me pee less. I think that's the trick, because that's the one reason why I hate drinking like a gallon of water a day, because I'm like, I do not have time to be pissing all day long. Like, this is insane. Like, and I have a mom bladder, and that doesn't work out sometimes, and I don't want to change in the middle of the day. So I'm like, I'm not going to drink all that water because then it's going to interrupt, like, if I'm trying to work or I'm trying to do something, like, I don't want to have to get up every 5 fucking minutes to go to the bathroom. So I think there is something to be said about adding some electrolyte back to it, like, especially if you're drinking filtered water, to be able to, like, balance it back out so your body's not, it's not just, like, running through you and it's, like, using it, maybe. I don't know. Shit.
Okay.
So there's that. And then one of my favorite ways to exercise or to, like, move my body is I have a feet up trainer. Have you guys ever seen
I've seen your videos of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fun and sexy in itself, but it's built for you to be, so people who can't do a headstand, like for yoga purposes.
That bar thing on the ground.
Yeah. It kind of looks a little like a commode, or a toilet. Like,
it's like a 2-sided squatty potty.
Yes, exactly. But I was like, that could actually be something that you, like, put your feet on and, like, lift weights for, like, like thrusting for the peach. But anyways, it's really nice because it takes the pressure. You don't have to put all that pressure on the top of your head. And so you can go upside down and experience, like, the inversion benefits. And then I can stay upside down now for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
And it's awesome.
That's so cool.
It builds your confidence level too of, like, going upside down. And then you can just do, like, I kind of, like, move the bottom part of, like, dance wise. It's really fun to do that. So I'll, like, put on sexy music. Like, I love 2 feet. 2 feet, yes. 2 feet, 2 feet.
Yeah.
All hands down.
2 feet, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll put something like that on. Something kind of like just to, like, kind of, like, move my body with, but upside down. So they have different colors. You can customize them. I think they're like $100, but.
Should we get one for posing?
I mean, I've done that. There's a video out there somewhere of when I went the wrong way, though, because I was trying to, like, get my butt, but then it was just, like, my labia in front. And it was hilarious because I'm like, oh my gosh, is my vagina showing? They're like, yep, it's the wrong way. I was like, oh shit. I got to turn around. I was trying to get my butt.
Yeah.
But cellulite doesn't exist upside down either.
No.
It goes away. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, but you could have, like, feet, people who have, like, feet, leg.
Our feet friends.
Yeah, your feet friends would definitely like the feet up.
Yeah, this is cool. What do you feel like when you do hang out upside down for a few minutes, like, what do you feel like the benefits are? Like, how do you feel afterwards when you come back?
So, well, it's kind of like you get that rush, like, when you come back up of, like, all of, like, because all the blood kind of, like, pools to that area. So it's really good. They say that it's good to do, like, before you fall asleep. Like, it helps with sleeping, and it helps to be able to decompress the spine. Because you're always going this way, so then you're going the opposite. So it helps with, like, low back, like you were talking about that. So it helps with that, and then it also helps, I think, just because of the swelling. Like, again, everything at your feet. So it helps kind of depuff and just move fluid in the opposite direction of what it always is going, which is down, down, down. So it brings it back up. But it definitely makes it a lot more tolerable to be upside down when you have, like, that support on your shoulders and all the weight is on your shoulders versus it being all on the top of your head.
Totally.
Because that, and, like, just your neck, like, that scares the shit out of me. Like, I'm going to snap my neck being upside down. Yeah. So it builds confidence, and it doesn't matter, like, your body size. Like, you can be any body size and go upside down.
That's so cool.
So
I love this.
It's really helpful for people who are, like, if you have extra weight and being on your head is a lot, like, that's really hard that's a lot of pressure on your neck and on your, especially, like, I mean, I've got my bottom half is the biggest part of my body. And so it's like to put all of that pressure in the opposite direction, like, it takes all of that off.
Yeah.
But you can do other stuff like modified push-ups. Like, you can do, they send you there's workouts that you can do from your phone, and they actually send you, a little, like, a thing that you can hook on it that you can, as you're upside down, you can actually see your phone and, like, watch something upside down. Cool. So there's that. And then they have, like, a poster of all these different poses that you can try and keep that there. So I just keep it in my bedroom and I hit it up a few times a week, and I really like it.
It's so cool. I'm always saying that I need one of those like medieval torture machines that like stretches
you.
you. I feel like
pull my neck off my head.
I want you to pull my legs out of my lower back. Just decompress that shit. But I feel like this could be.
Yeah, it definitely helps with that. It just releases all that. It's because it's always this way.
Yeah.
So having it go the other way is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, just different direction.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to link this in the story too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Get it. Let's show me videos.
Okay, so tell the people where they can find you.
So they can find me at Mary Breuer Photos. So it's Breuer, and Breuer rhymes with lawyer. So, because people are like, Breuer, and I'm like, that works.
Yeah.
So I have an Instagram there, and then I also have an Instagram for the Broken and Beloved. So that's the Broken and then the letter N, Beloved. So they can find me there, and then both of those are on Facebook too. Same usernames. And if anybody ever just wants to shoot me a text, 920-944-3946.
Oh,
wow.
She's going for it. Okay. I love this.
Ask me questions.
I love this.
I usually have different keywords that I'll send them information, but yeah. If you're in the Wisconsin area and you would like to be a part of the project, we still have space. You can come to the premiere party. It's next week, Thursday.
Oh my gosh, fun.
If there's anybody from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Or you just want to fly in and just have a good time.
Can
that's
we
fine.
come next year for the premiere party?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that.
This comes out on Tuesday, and your party will be Thursday. So 2 days after the episode comes out will be the party. So if you're listening to this, you still have time to go.
Yeah. Yep. And if you're in the area, I don't know where your listeners are from, but if they're in the area, we're enrolling until up until the day before. We're going to let people enroll for the project. So that we launch February 9th. And that's when we have our kickoff party and the whole celebration starts. So
exciting.
I'm so excited for you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was so fun.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. That was good to get it all out there.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe your other people are going to be like, my brother is my cousin too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have cousins.
Brother cousins out there, hit us up.
You're not alone.
It is really common now, with 23andMe and stuff. It's they have all those Netflix things about the creepy doctors and whatnot, but it... Oh my God.
We have multiple 23andMe scandals in my family.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not alone, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming. We love you.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And everyone else, we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.